It is 4 o'clock. Please stand to sing O Canada. We'll ask the clerk to take the roll, please.
Mayor Sue Patterson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking is absent, Councillor Carol Hudson,
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
Councillor Susan Sackle,
Present.
Thank you. All members are present and accounted for, with the exception of Councillor Hawking, who has sent his regrets. Our land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Seeing none, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 5 is agenda additions or deletions, and we do not have any. Item 6 is delegations, and we have one delegation this afternoon. With us today is Chad Richards. He is the Director of Policy and Partnerships for the Nuclear Innovation Institute for Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and a pleasure to be here today with Council to talk a little bit more about the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, which is a really great initiative started up by the Nuclear Innovation Institute, the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council, and the City of Owen Sound, and really growing our support with a collection of regional collaborative partners who see a really strong role for the Southwestern Ontario region in growing the isotope sector across the region and in Ontario and across Canada. We're really excited about the isotope sector in the nuclear sector. So in addition to producing 30% of Ontario's electricity in the form of zero carbon nuclear energy, Bruce Power is also a producer of isotopes and traditionally has been producing cobalt-60 through reactors on site, and through advances in technology like the isotope production system is growing the roster of isotopes that are being produced at site, to isotopes like lutetium, which is used to treat prostate cancers, and really demonstrating that our region can play a fundamental role in growing the isotope sector moving forward. So we're very excited about the sector, about about the role our region can play, and about the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, which seeks to capitalize on the moment that we have here today. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So to start off, kind of the founding principles of the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition are pretty clear. One, we recognize that we are on the traditional territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and that's where these isotopes are produced at the Bruce Power site. And there's been a great deal of reconciliation efforts to ensure that the Saugeen Ojibwe is included in jointly marketing medical isotopes alongside Bruce Power, and really plays a prominent role in isotope development going forward. We also realize the importance of the broader isotope ecosystem here in Canada. So just recently, the federal government created an initiative called the Canadian Medical Isotope Ecosystem, which is really about fostering a nationwide isotope ecosystem across Canada to ensure, again, that Canada can punch above its weight with respect to the emerging isotope sector around the world. We are also in a region that is full of diverse companies, whether that's in respect to the nuclear supply chain that has been developed here in the region to support operations at Bruce Power, or the innovative companies and the innovative approaches taken by municipal governments around the region to support the rapidly growing nuclear sector and specifically the isotope sector. We understand that we have a great deal of regional advantages when it comes to the sector, and one of the goals of the Isotope Coalition, the SOIC, as you'll hear me call it, is to really capitalize on those advantages and ensure that we're all coming to the table and putting our best foot forward towards growing the sector here regionally. And we are committed to uniting the Ontario's isotope community and expanding isotope production, whether that production, processing, and use. So everything from medical applications of isotopes. What can we be doing here locally in that respect? What can we do with respect to processing and handling? How do we grow the logistical workforce needed to really meet the moment here when it comes to the isotope sector going forward? We believe that we have a great deal, again, of regional advantages and want to capitalize on what we already have existing here in the Southwestern region. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the coalition itself, at the kind of brass tacks, what the coalition is, it's a public-private partnership. We were formed officially in June of 2023, and it started with 3 founding partners of the SOIC. So the City of Owen Sound, the Nuclear Innovation Institute, where I work, and the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council. The SOIC is co-chaired by Mayor Ian Boddy from the City of Owen Sound, Jessica Linthorne, who's the Chief Operating Officer at the Nuclear Innovation Institute, and James Sconiak, who is the chair of the CNIC, the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council, and is also, as many of you will know, that wears 2 hats. He also works at Bruce Power and plays a pretty prominent role there on site. So we're really excited about these three bodies coming together. But what we have done since then is really expand out into across the region and pull together a coalition of like-minded organizations, many of them being municipalities. And included in the agenda package for this meeting was a bit of an overview of the SOIC, what it is and what we hope to do. And you'll see all of the regional collaborative partners, as we call them, listed. And it's a pretty impressive group of organizations that have come together to recognize the prospects that we're seeing in the isotope sector moving forward. Next slide, please. And a lot of the momentum that we're seeing, or the moment that we're seeing with respect to isotopes, comes out of a report produced by the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council called the Isotopes for Hope report. And really, that report sets out a goal for Canada of doubling isotope production by the year 2030 across Canada. So really an ambitious target for the sector nationwide. And we believe that the role that our region plays is absolutely vital to meeting that goal. We know that our region is home to a massive source of isotope production in Bruce Power, and we also know that the demand for isotopes is only growing moving forward. And again, we believe that our region can really pull above its weight and meet the moment here to fill the gap that we see on the horizon with respect to isotope production. Next slide, please. A fundamental goal of the SOIC is to rise above those typical municipal boundaries that so often limit progress. We really hope that the SOIC can transcend municipal boundaries, pull everybody into one regional approach to the isotope sector, and capitalize on the advantages that we see with respect to each regional partner. We hope that it can really be a platform for ensuring that we all win when it comes to the future of the isotope sector in the region. We know that we pulled together a really strong network of organizations, and we believe that we can capitalize on the power of those partnerships and really bringing everybody together to pull in the same direction. And also use the SOIC as a platform for raising awareness of the contributions of our region, whether that's, making different levels of government aware of what it is we are doing here in the region and the role that we play in contributing not only that clean electricity that folks around the province rely on so much, but also the key role that we're playing in the global fight against cancer. We believe the SOIC can be a platform for celebrating that role that our region plays and drawing more attention to the fact that we are meeting that demand at the present time. Next slide, please. Going forward, the SOIC is really focused on, as I mentioned, some of the key components in that CNIC Isotopes for Hope report. We know that as we're seeing this massive moment for the isotope sector with respect to opportunities going forward, there are certainly, as with anything, there are barriers to growth, and we hope that the SOIC can be a platform for collectively addressing those barriers, bringing the right partners to the table to talk about things like how do we build the infrastructure that we need here regionally to support the growth in demand? How do we ensure that the logistical systems required to move isotopes from point A to point B to go from the reactor to a patient? How do we ensure that those logistical systems are in place and well supported here in the region? How do we market the isotopes that we are producing here regionally and ensure that there is that demand globally, or meeting that demand globally going forward? And also ensuring that the economics make sense, that we're driving good economic value for our region, and that our region capitalizes on the value of producing these isotopes. And just a quick sidebar, an approach that we've taken through another program that we have at the NII, the Clean Energy Frontier program. That's really our model here. We want the investments being made at the Bruce Power site to be benefiting local workers, companies that have set up shop locally, and we put an immense emphasis on driving that growth in the localized nuclear supply chain. We think we've done a pretty good job. We've gone from about 13 major suppliers in 2016 to now over 60 major suppliers that call the region home today, and we're really proud of that, and we hope that we can do something similar with respect to isotopes. Maybe it's not localizing 60 companies, but really, again, driving good value for the people that call this region home, and great opportunity for the region. And we also know that I'm sure it's on the minds of every councillor and mayor and deputy mayor around the region is workforce, and ensuring that the workforce is there to support all of these ambitions. And how do we ensure that we're attracting the right workers and building up the local talent pipeline here in the region, and getting people excited about potentially working in the isotope sector moving forward, as we know it will inevitably grow, and we'll have those workforce demands going down the road. We think pulling together all of these partners to have these really deep and meaningful conversations about the future of the region and about the future of the sector is the right way to proactively tackle some of these barriers to growth going forward. Next slide, please. So what we've already been doing at the SOIC is we have, as I mentioned, pulled together a really strong network of regional collaborative partners. In early December, we hosted a workshop where we sat down with all of our partners and said, here are the challenges that we see. Let's tackle some of these key questions. And we had a really engaging discussion about the future of the SOIC. What can it be, and where does everybody want to see it go? Using the input that we got at that workshop, we've been developing a roadmap to advance the isotope sector across the region, and a bit of an action plan for the SOIC going forward. And we will be meeting quarterly as a coalition to ensure that we're, meeting those key milestones and delivering on the right types of actions going forward. We're also actively promoting the fact that we have developed this coalition and that we're working in this space. So the SOIC co-chairs were active most recently at Roma. So there was a sponsored breakfast where I think it was breakfast or lunch, one of the two, where the co-chairs were active at Roma, and again, celebrating the fact that we've established this coalition and outlining what it means for not only the Southwestern Ontario region, but the broader Ontario isotope ecosystem and Canadian isotope ecosystem. And as with anything, we are also looking for ways to augment the coalition by seeking funding from different sources that are in the public space. If anybody was I know a few of you were at the Clean Energy Frontier Summit earlier this year in January. You heard James Sconiak talk about advancing or seeking funding through the CMIE, the Canadian Medical Isotope Ecosystem. That's something we're actively pursuing, again, to really support the work of the SOIC as we go forward. We need some of that kind of base funding to advance some core projects. So we're actively seeking those sources of funding going forward, and ideally in the next couple of months we'll be kicking off a study of isotope technologies that could be applied here regionally, and ensuring that those technologies that are advanced again drive local benefit here in the region. And we're also doing exactly what I'm here doing today. We're seeking new partners to join in the coalition, and we have an online partnership application form that is available on the SOIC's website. And we think that the more we build up the coalition and the more partners we bring on board, the stronger the coalition will be. So we're hoping that Hanover might consider joining us in the work of the coalition, and I'd be happy to take any questions to the next slide.
Thank you, Chad. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation, Chad. I was lucky enough to attend I guess it was a kickoff at BWXT in Owen Sound there back in October, along with one of our other councillors, Councillor Sackle. And it is pretty exciting information that you had to share, and the whole industry is really, it's great to see that taking place and taking shape here locally in Grey and Bruce County. So I certainly wish you all the best with the initiative, and look forward to hearing more about it. And thank you for your time here today.
Madam Chair, through you, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. We're glad that you could make it to the launch event at BWXT. It was a really exciting time, and I think you could feel the momentum in the room, the energy, if you will. Pardon the pun. Can't get away without doing that. So yeah, thank you.
Councillor Sackle.
Yes, thank you, Chad, for your report. And I thoroughly enjoyed that presentation. I learned a lot that day. So I would like to point out that I think Hanover is poised to help you out with this. I think we can make a potential partner with Bruce Power due to the fact that we have Launchpad here, a skills training and technology center, which offers hands-on skill building programs for youth and young adults from ages 12 to 29, including opportunities to assist with apprenticeships. So you may want to consider us as helping you overcome that barrier that you spoke of today in labor and training. Just want to keep that in the forefront. And yes, I hope we can help and join you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Chad, for your presentation. Is there a big demand worldwide for isotopes? Like, are you getting like a lot of the world looking for isotopes produced at Bruce Power? And what would be the percentage of isotopes that you are producing right now?
Great question. So the global demand for isotopes is dramatically increasing for sure. With respect to the percentages of isotopes we're producing, it depends on the isotope. So cobalt-60, for instance, which has been produced at Bruce Power for a while now, about the cobalt-60 produced at Bruce Power sterilizes about 40% of the world's once-use medical equipment. So if you were to go to a hospital today and see a syringe, for instance, it's like more than likely that equipment was sterilized with isotopes produced at Bruce Power, which is or in Ontario, which is really, really exciting that we're playing that much of a role with respect to that specific isotope. And really, I think I don't have the numbers in front of me with respect to how much of the lutetium supply, for instance, Bruce Power would be producing, but it's dramatic and significant. And I mentioned the isotope production system that is really a game changer with respect to the isotope sector or locally here. What that technology is allowing Bruce Power to do is to explore new and innovative isotopes as that technology gets deployed on different units at the site. So a long-winded way of saying I don't know the exact percentage of certain isotopes, but it can grow dramatically and be quite significant. Yeah.
Thank you. And, this is very exciting and it's great for our area and hopefully the town of Hanover can be a part of this. So I really appreciate your presentation. Thanks.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your knowledge. Your presentation was informative and it is exciting. It's really great to know that medical isotopes produced at Bruce Power will advance research in cancer treatment and improve the lives of many people. Thank you, Chad and Kurt.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Moving on, we have item 7, and this is business arising from the minutes. And we have a notice of motion from Councillor Cable, and I will ask Councillor Cable to read that notice of motion. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start with the motion, and then I do have a few brief comments. So whereas the Council of the Town of Hanover is committed to maintaining and enhancing the town's infrastructure and capital assets, and whereas capital project spending in the budget is essential to ensure that the town meets its asset management plan requirements, and whereas the deferral of capital items adds to the existing backlog of capital projects and is not a long-term solution to the town's budget challenges, and whereas the Council of the Town of Hanover approved the 2024 municipal budget at its meeting on January the 29th with resolution number 011-24, which included deferring a road infrastructure project to reduce the overall tax levy impact, and whereas the procedural bylaw number 2943-16 as amended states in section 10.13 that after any question has been decided, the following shall prevail. Any member of the council or committee thereof may give notice within the calendar year in which the question was decided for a reconsideration of the council or committee thereof. Therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Hanover reconsider the 2024 operating and capital budget with respect to A, the deferral of the 21st Ave and 15th Street closed paving project, and B, the approved bottle fill stations at the P&H Center. And further that the Council of the Town of Hanover, A, reinstates the 21st Ave and 15th Street closed paving project at a cost of $365,000, and B, asks that additional street lighting be added to the project's final design up to a maximum of $10,000, and C, defers the bottle fill stations at the P&H Center at a cost of $20,000, and D, removes $183,700 from the transfer to reserve fund, which was a direction of the 21st Ave and 15th Street closed paving project deferral as part of the budget discussion. And finally, E, approves the use of the town's general reserves to make up the balance of the road project, totaling $171,300 in order to maintain council's January 29th approved budget tax levy requirement of $9,102,400. So
Thank
while the
you.
intent
Councillor Cable, I need a seconder before I turn to you for comments. Okay?
okay, thank you.
So Councillor Cable has moved this motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fleet? And Councillor Cable, before you speak, I want to make a comment. In an effort for council to be able to make clear and concise decisions with regards to this motion, I'm recommending that the motion be divided for discussion and for voting. There are 3 distinct items that are not contingent on each other. One is the water filling station. stations, sorry. The second one is lighting for a section of 21st Avenue, and the third is the reinstatement of the 21st Avenue paving project using reserves along with the remaining clauses. And my thoughts on this is someone may support one item but not the others, or support two items and not the third. So for council to be transparent when voting and to give Councillor Cable's motion fair consideration, I recommend that the motion be divided. But to do this, I need a mover and a seconder to amend the motion to divide it. So I'm asking council if someone will move it and second it. The amendment. Deputy Mayor Dickert moves it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cable, or sorry, Councillor Hudson? All in favor? And that is carried. All right, thank you, council. So the first one, Councillor Cable, you're welcome to speak, but I would suggest that you comment on the water filling stations. And I need a mover and seconder for this now that we've divided the motion. And I can take Councillor Cable and Councillor Fleet for that motion. Okay. All right, Councillor Cable.
Sorry, Your Worship, do you want me to just speak about the water fill stations?
Yes, please.
Sure, I can start. The intent of deferring that project to 2025 is simply based on the fact that it wasn't originally a part of the 2024 budget. And ultimately, if we were to move forward with that project, it would be more dollars coming from, I suppose, reserves in order to fund that. So I'm hoping that we would defer that project in order to open up some additional funds for the 21st Ave paving project.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else want to comment on deferring? So at this point, I'll ask Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have no issue with deferring this, but I think this is a project that we need to look forward to next year because it's something that you see in a lot of arenas and with COVID in the past, it's a way of safely refilling water bottles. So this is something we will have to look at going forward. So I'm fine with deferring it.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of deferring to the 2025 budget? That is carried. And Councillor Cable, I'm just going to state that you agreed. You are in favor, as I don't know if everyone can see you, but they should be able to. Okay, the second one is the lighting. And this is for a section of 21st Avenue. And again, I will ask Councillor Cable, you can move it, and Councillor Fleet can second. And Councillor Cable, would you like to speak to it?
Really the being first directly on 21st Ave. There is one that's on 6th Street, but neither of those actually.
So,
And so the hope is that.
Councillor Cable, can you just start again? You're cutting in and out.
Sure. So the hope is that staff have to take a look at adding additional street lighting to the project during its final design. There's currently only one street light, which is on 21st Ave, very close to the corner of light at the bottom at 16th, and the one at the top at 4th do not directly flood onto 21st Ave. And so the hope is that we can take a look at street lighting as part of that project.
Thank you. Councillor Fleet, would you like to comment?
For the safety of our residents, I feel that it's very important to have our streets well lit, and I support this motion of looking into this up to $10,000.
Thank you. I would like to comment that council makes good decisions when we have all the information. We have very little info about this item, and without a staff report, it's like putting the cart before the horse. Before I can support this motion, I would need to have a staff report with background information along with a recommendation. So to make that informative decision, I would need to know, is it even possible to put a light along this section of 21st Avenue? We did hear from Mr. Cooper that there are certain areas in town where a light cannot be installed. I would need to know that it is possible. I also want to know, are there other options like adjusting the lights that are already there? And then is this a concern from one person or a few people or from residents on 21st Avenue? Have staff received calls about the lighting, and has council received calls about the lighting? I would need to know that information. And finally, what would be the total cost? Is $10,000 too much or is it too little? And I'm not against that if it shows that a light is justified, but without a staff report giving us all the information, I cannot support it. Are there other comments? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think you do raise very valid points there. I think we likely should know a little bit more about it. I'm happy to support it if the need is there. And I think it's something that can likely be added after the fact, like shouldn't say after the fact, but during, we can, if the other motion moves ahead as far as reconstructing the street, I think this is something we can add. And I'll look to Mr. Cooper whether that's a true statement or not, but I think it's something we could add after we've had a chance to look at the need.
Yeah, it's something we would have to have a look at in terms of technicalities and how it would be done. I know that subdivision is serviced with underground electrical supply. So I'm thinking if we are adding street lighting, it would have to come out of the transformer, go to a new location. We'd have to determine where that location was. As far as it being 21st Avenue, that section, there is actually a street light on the corner of the 15th Street close where it meets out at that intersection. So I think we would have to look at whether there is a further need for a street light on that section or not. I've not had any questions or concerns of inadequate street lighting in the area.
And we have seen on 24th Avenue that the lights are going to be added later, correct? And the new 20 County Road 28, sorry.
That one it was, yeah, it came on after as a separate contract. This one, I think the actual feed from it's going to be underground, so that would have to be and that conduit, and that would have to be put in as part of the construction tender since it's underground. I know the number's been mentioned in the motion coming forward at a maximum cost of 10,000. I would caution you on that it might be in the neighborhood of 15,000 to add the light on there, just to being underground, where it has to come from, further research on it. It's not an easy addition.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments? And I see we've lost Councillor Cable. So we will hope that he can reconnect. So in the meantime, other comments or questions? And now I'm going to look to our deputy clerk when a call is dropped and we're about to take a vote. Maybe he just hit an area that didn't have good cell service. 3.10.2. Yes, please.
Okay, through you, the mayor, as per our procedural bylaw 2943-16, section 3.10.3. Oh, sorry, read the wrong one. 3.10.2, the last point. In the case of a loss of connection or any connection issue which impedes the ability of a member to participate in the meeting in real time, the meeting will continue without attempts by staff to connect. The member may attempt to reconnect and rejoin the meeting.
So that means we continue on because we still have quorum. And hopefully Councillor Cable can connect. So at this point, we're ready to call the question. All in favor of the additional street lighting being added to the project's final design up to a maximum of $10,000. That is 2 in favor, and those opposed? And that is 3. So that motion is defeated. I hope Councillor Cable can join us. All right, the third one. Again, I'm going to turn to the deputy clerk because the mover is not present unless someone else will move using reserves for the 21st Avenue paving project. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet will second it. Would anyone like to speak to this? Even though it is Councillor Cable's motion. I'm looking to staff first. Oh, sorry, to council first. Staff on my mind is second. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. So am I to understand then if we have lost the 10th, or sorry, if we have gained the 10,000, we can simply take the 10,000 less than from the reserves?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, before I turn to Chris, I do have some comments. Our practice has been to try to use OLG funds for capital projects and one-time operational items. In 2023, $182,800 of OLG money was used to fund operations. We approved that budget. In the proposed 2024 budget, and now this number may be off a bit, $161,300 of OLG money is to be used for operations. Council had indicated a levy increase of 7% or less should be our objective for the 2024 budget. To reduce the overall tax levy impact and allow us to still action our strategic plan goals, I suggested that Council defer the 21st Avenue Road project until 2025, but spread the cost of the project over 2 years, 2024 and 2025. And to do this, that $161,000 would be needed to cover operating expenses to meet that requested 7% levy increase. To fund this, the money would need to come from OLG funds. The motion on the floor is to use reserves rather than OLG funds. Reserves are there to ensure that money is set aside for long-term goals of the municipality. Reserves should not be used for unintended purposes. And without adequate reserves, funds may not be available to cover emergencies. Using reserves for their intended purposes is a financial best practice. It takes years to build up reserves, and over the years, this council and previous councils have done a good job building those reserves. I cannot support a motion that uses reserves for unintended purposes. Chris.
I will piggyback on what the mayor has just said. I have a concern with the reserves availability for the future. Constantly using reserves to offset tax increases is not sustainable. You may remember we talked about the tangible capital asset reserve where we will need it to make more money go in there. So we're using part of the OLG money to put that away for the TCA reserves so we could reach our asset management plan. So at the beginning, once we put all our money in, we've added another 116,500 from the OLG funds to put in 242,000 in 2024. We started with 647, so that gave us almost 890,000. However, we are using 86% of that just to cover our TCAs. So 768,900, which leaves us $128,000. I do not have 171 or 161 or possibly 141 if you get rid of the bottle filling station to cover that. You may remember we also brought to your attention that there's a heat recovery unit in the Civic Center that has been, what do you call that, faulty, and we've been told we cannot use it anymore. And to replace that is going to be $250,000. Again, we're going to need money for that. We do not have that. The general reserves is a combination of a bunch of reserves from medical clinic, some cemetery, from parks, recreation, and culture. Just to name a few, the medical clinic has over 587,000 of that 1.6 million that's sitting there. 213,000 is for parks, recreation, culture. The rest are earmarked for other areas. The general reserve that is strictly a general for the capital is the money that we put aside each year, and we continue to use it. Again, we're using 63% of that. That leaves us 128,000 there for that. We have 121,000 left in the TCA reserve fund. So we do not have that 161 or 171 or 141 that you're looking for. We can take it from other areas, but again, we are not addressing the reality of the operations which need to be addressed. As the mayor has stated last year, to reduce the levy, instead of actually making the hard cuts for the operations, we took a capital project and then used money from OLG. We are doing the exact same thing again in 2024, cutting a capital project so that that money from OLG can be used for operation one time. We have tried in the 2024 budget to take most of the one-time items that we knew of in the operations from our reserves that we are putting aside. This is not sustainable to continue to constantly not address the reality of the cost of operations for this town of Hanover. I refer back to if this was your house budget and you were short $500 a year, and you would not just go to your savings and constantly bring in $500 and deplete all your savings, but because you haven't addressed the reality of the cost. You would look at all your variable costs and cut your cable, cut your phone bill. You would cut some food and entertainment and clothing budgets. We know we can't cut your mortgage. You couldn't cut your car payment, but you would look at the variable spending. This is what we're asking for the reality of operations back at the beginning when we brought in the budget, because we told you what it was, the reality was, and if you wanted to get down to 7, you would have to make some cuts. There was the easy way cut the capital and keep some of the savings. The mayor was correct in that capital project will come back and we'll have half of that covered from our reserve because we are taking half of that money and putting it in to the TCA reserve fund, which is 183,700. So that will help cover the 365. It will also possibly give staff an opportunity to see about the lighting, and the sidewalks, I think, were also an issue on that project as well. So I'm just concerned that we constantly grab from our savings. We're not going to have any savings left. Once these water towers and the wastewater treatment plant's done, there is going to be nothing left in TCA's reserves or reserve funds. Warnings.
Thanks, Chris. Are there any other comments? So Councillor Cable has joined us. He's by phone, so I'll ask his comments once we've heard here. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, I look at cutting this project and at, what is it? I better put my glasses on here, at $365,000. So I'm going to go back to the boiler at the P&H Center. We deferred that project 2 years ago. It doubled in price. So next year, when we look at this project, is this going to double in price? So are we behind the 8 ball or ahead of the 8 ball? By cutting this, by not doing this project this year, are we going to be paying twice as much next year, just like the boiler at the P&H Center? I think we have to keep up with our infrastructure and going forward, you know, that night of the budget was a very long night. We were all tired. You know, maybe we got to look at doing things different ways, but I feel this project might double in a year or two. I'm not sure. Thank you.
So just to be clear, we are not cutting, we are deferring. We are spreading it over 2 years rather than one. This is a B priority project that we are using reserves for. It was never intended to use reserves. It was to come from the tax dollar. So we're going into reserves to fund a B priority project. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think what Councillor Cable's attempting to do here is to keep the tax levy requirement at the same level. So my question is, how can we do that, Chris? Through Your Worship.
Well, you'd have to look at his motion. His motion is dictating exactly what it is he would like to do. So you're basically saying, I want to keep the rate, the increase to be at the 6.84% that we had talked about of $66.95 for every 100,000. But in order to do that, we want to bring back this project, eliminate the bottled water project, and take any monies that's required to keep it at this part from reserves. So you are, as Mayor Sue Patterson has said, you are taking money from reserves to fund a B project.
And right now, the money is coming from OLG funds. Half is coming from OLG, not from reserves. And again, I will stress, every council tries to put reserves away every year. And to dip in and wipe them out in 1 year is just not feasible. That's not long-term planning. Councillor Cable, I see you're online. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'd like to go back to the comments from the beginning of the meeting. So certainly, we all recognize that our infrastructure needs are outpacing our ability to fund capital projects. Deferring capital by allocating OLG funds to offset operations is not a long-term solution to our budget challenges. You are correct in stating that we have now done this 2 years in a row. That is a horrible pattern for us to be getting into. If you think about this over a 10-year time frame, Council will put close to $2 million into the operations side instead of going into capital. We cannot continue this trend. This motion attempts to be a temporary stopgap, allowing the one-time operation items that were contained in the approved budget to proceed, while also moving forward with the 21st Ave and 15th Street closed paving project, which has been in the 5-year capital forecast since 2020. The project's timing has moved from 2021 to 2022 to 2023 and now to 2024. And as Councillor Fleet was getting at, the original estimated cost for this project in the 2020 budget was $164,000, and it is now estimated at $365,000. So the cost will continue to increase if we do not get this done. I am asking for Council's consideration to get this project finished in 2024 so that we can move ahead with other large capital projects that we have already on the books in 2025.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this would be for Chris. This motion specifies to come from the general reserves, whereas our OLG funds are going into the TCA reserves. Is that correct? And would there be funding in there? That way it would be coming from capital?
The only capital general reserve that's available is $128,000 left. I could take as part of the combined general reserves, which is a total of approximately 1.6 million. Again, I said part of it is medical clinic, Parks and Rec. They're all different departments are putting monies aside because the medical clinic's a higher amount right now because we have 13 RTU units. And if they go, it's going to cost more than the 500,000 that we have in there to fix the building and the other. We could take it from Ron's budget. He has a savings there of 186 thousand, but you're going to deplete that totally, and those monies have been put aside on a yearly basis. We're trying to do that so that we can get equipment, because it seems like that's the first thing to go for council. If you ask for tax dollar money for equipment, you always slash that, so that's why we take it from reserves and we're putting monies aside for that. There is money there if need be, if this is a temporary stopgap, but I caution you because, again, that's about 161,000 or 171,000, whatever you're looking at, that's really going to come forward again in 2025's budget that you haven't addressed in 23 or 24 because you keep pushing it into operations from the capital. All right, plus you also have another 205,000 for sure on your levy next year because of the fire hall when we go to borrow, and because of the police has already give you notice that over the next 5 years, you're probably going to see another 200,000 each year. So you're already looking at 405,000 that I know of. Now you're going to add another 171,000. So you're looking at over 500,000 to 600,000 next year in a levy alone increase. And we know that, what are we talking here? 84,000 is 1%. So already you're at what, 5-6% on your levy. And you're going to come back and say to staff, you need to reduce that again. And I'm like telling you, it's already there because you keep delaying and you keep pushing stuff further and further. Stopgap, I can understand. If you want to get that all through, I understand all that. But keep in mind that you're depleting your reserves just so that you can save face that I need to have this project in place. You will save $20,000 by deferring the bottle filler. So that will do that, but it's coming up next year again. I just caution you because we've done this for 3 years in a row now, and we keep saying you can't, it's not sustainable. And I'm telling you, we're hitting the wall on these reserves if you keep grabbing at them. Remember, as we were talking at our budget meeting, I said you're spending over 4.5 million from our reserves and reserve funds, and you're only putting back about 2 million something back. So you're already reducing your reserves and reserve fund by that. Once water, again, water and wastewater, those are big reserves. Once they go, they'll be gone in 3 years. Once we cover the water tower and the wastewater treatment plant, they'll all be gone and there won't be anything to borrow from or use for internal borrowing. Just caution you.
Thanks, Chris. Other comments? Deputy Mayor Dicker? No? Okay. To me, the option is, are we using OLG funds or are we using reserves for a B project that is not a health and safety risk? It is not in the, whatever the percentage is, it's under 80% on the priority list. So why would we take reserves for a B priority project? We can take OLG funds. I know it's not sustainable. We all know that, but we don't have much choice here. And if we start dipping into these reserves, as Chris said, we are going to get caught. There's no doubt about it. We will be caught. Councillor Cable?
Your worship, if I might. Thank you, worship. Again, the only reason that we're looking at this motion at this point in time is because council has already gone down the road of moving operational items to be paid for from OLG dollars. And so that in itself, right, like the priority of those items might not warrant a B priority. So I really think that at this point in time, I really just want the motion would be on the floor to proceed with this capital project. And then in 2025, we will need to go back, as Chris has said, and really look at the operations side of this budget to get this under control, because we know that this is not sustainable and we need to come up with a longer term solution. I also would like to request a recorded vote.
So just so I'm clear, you're not changing your motion at all. Did I hear that correctly?
Was there a suggestion to have it changed?
No, there wasn't. I just didn't hear you correctly on the phone there.
No, I don't wish to have it changed. The only thing I'm hesitant about is that because of the suggestion to break it out into 3 pieces, if this 21st Ave project is not approved, I'm going to want to go back to the bottle fill stations that council just agreed to defer. because this to me was all part of the one motion. So if this road project fails, I want to go back to the bottle fill stations to have those put back in.
And I will turn to the deputy clerk, but that's already been voted on and can't be changed. The deputy clerk says that is correct. The motion has passed, Councillor Cable. So I guess we're at the point we're ready to vote, and Councillor Cable has asked for a recorded vote on the use of reserves for the 21st Avenue paving project, along with the other clauses of, I've lost my sheet, of transferring to the reserve fund, pulling the money out, having the total, the budget tax levy requirement of 9.1 million. And I think that's it. Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the process for a recorded vote. And just so everyone is aware, it's alphabetical and the mayor votes last. Chris, go ahead.
If I could just reiterate, the whole project was 365. The additional 10,000 was not added. So if we take the 20,000 off the bottle filler, we're looking at 345,000. And taking off the 183.7, if I'm not, am I correct on that one? Which means we need to have $161,300 coming from reserves or reserve fund, or however we wish to fund it for this temporary stopgap in 2024
So the motion is from reserves.
from reserves. Okay.
As Mayor Patterson noted, the recorded vote will be done alphabetically, and that's per our procedural bylaw 2943-16, section 8.3. Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Harold Fleet, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Carol Hudson, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Brandon Cable, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Susan Sackle, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mayor Sue Patterson, how do you vote?
Opposed?
The recorded vote is carried.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item 8 is Council and Committee of the Whole minutes. The first one, 8.1, is our regular council meeting minutes from January 15th. I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Councillor Sackle and Councillor and Deputy Mayor Dickert. At that meeting, we had a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment, and we rezoned 600 11th Avenue from residential type 1 to residential type 5, which allows 3 additional units for a maximum of 5 dwelling units. We also approved the health and safety policy statement and work plan and the annual workplace violence and harassment policy. And and we supported a resolution from AMO, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, to review and promote the stability and sustainability of municipal finances across Ontario. Any comments or discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. And Councillor Cable, I'm going to assume you are in favor unless you speak up and say opposed.
Excellent. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Item 8.2 is Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from February 5th. And I need a mover and seconder, and we have a correction with item 8.3. We are removing the last second bullet, the last little section where it says within the town of Hanover's infrastructure. Just a correction there. But I do need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet. Any comments or questions with those minutes? All right, all those in favor? That is carried. Item 8.3 is two sets of minutes. We have January 29th special meeting and February 12th special meeting and the February 12th is as corrected. We'll start with the January 29th meeting. We did have the 2024 budget overview and presentations. And the February 12th, we approved the P&H Center boiler replacement. And the correction with those minutes is to remove Councillor Hawking as attending. All those in favor of approving those minutes? That is carried. Item 9 is staff reports, and the first 9.1 is report PW 0124. The subject is the 2023 Annual Water Quality Report. It's from Ron Cooper, our Director of Public Works. And I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor before Ron and Ted highlight that report. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Hudson. Ron.
Thank you, Worship. I'll start with this report and take you through, as you had indicated. We have our Chief Operator, Ted Knapp, on the line. He's the one that has provided the information and putting the report together. So if there's any specific questions operational, I will end up referring them to him. Just on the report, annual water quality report for 2023, there is a requirement under Section 11 of the Ontario Drinking Water System Regulation, OREG 17003, as it was amended in June of 2006, requires the content of the annual report for the period January 1st to December 31st be prepared by February 28th of the following year and made available to the public. There is requirements of the report. It is a template which is provided, and it's got certain sections which we have to provide information. I'll go through this for you. The first part is a brief description of our drinking water system and including the list of the chemicals used. That's found on page 2 of the template. Actually, it's page 38 of the council package. And it has a brief description of our drinking water system, which our source water comes from 3 different supplies: Rural Lake, Well 1, Well 2. They are combined together and they receive chemically aided filtration pretreatment. We're disinfecting with UV and chlorine gas, and seasonally we used enhanced UV and hydrogen peroxide for taste and odor control. The chemicals used in this process is a PAX XL52, which is a coagulant that helps for treating of the water from the Rural Lake. Chlorine gas, which is utilized to inactivate disease-causing organisms, and hydrogen peroxide is used as part of our odor control process in the treatment of the water. The next part, which I have to report on, is a summary of reports made to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And to that end, we had 3 exceedance of the Safe Drinking Water Act in 2003. That is actually on page, and the details of that are provided on page 3 of the template, which we had a low chlorine residual on April 21st. On that same day, as a result of some works that we had to do, we ended up having a high turbidity and addressing that. And the third time where we had an exceedance was on November 5th, where we had a turbidity analyzer froze. All 3 of those items were reported to the ministry. Follow-up actions were completed, and we got a report back from the ministry that no further actions were required. The next item that I have to report on is a summary of the test results and corrective actions taken. That is actually on pages 4 to 7 of the report. It details that. It's given test results, showing them throughout the year. One of the ones would be for the microbiological tests, which we do on a weekly basis. That's actually shown on page 4. It shows the number of tests which we're doing. We do 1 point of entry every week, and we do four distribution samples for microbiological weekly. That is shown on the test results. We also do online turbidity analyzing for turbidity, chlorine level, and chlorine concentrations. That's actually shown on page 4 of the template. Once a year, we're having results done up for inorganic parameters. Those test results were done in May. We had no exceedance of those parameters. At that same time, we sent away organic parameters. There was a number of items that were tested for there. When we got the reports back, there was no exceedance of any of those parameters. Another test result, which we have done throughout the year, we get tested from June till the end of October. We test for blue-green algae. That's done on a weekly basis. We've got the results back, and the results indicate we're actually under the minimum detectable limit for that. And that's a test that is done on our rural lake water supply. We've also, there's 2 other on page 7 of the report done. Acetic acids, which is done. Our maximum allowable concentration is 80, and our actual test result is 22, and that's micrograms per liter. So we're well in exceedance of that. The other one which we test for is it's called THMs. The maximum concentration allowed on that is 100 micrograms per liter. And our test result running average through the year is actually 50 micrograms per liter. So all test results were in compliance. Another item which we have to report on is major expenses that we occur at the plant. That's on page 2 of the test results. And the other part is advertisement where the report is going to be found and indicated in the report. It's going to be posted on the website, and it's being available at the town office on the public information document. We also provide information to the public in the water billings as to where this report can be found. And the recommendation is the report PW 0124 drinking water quality report be received, that council acknowledge receipt of the 2023 annual water quality report as per section 11 of the Ontario Regulation 17003, and the report may be available at the municipal office and posted on the town's website. Detailed. If there's any questions, I would be pleased to try and answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Ron, I was sorry, I just got a little lost when you were talking about page 4 of the report versus what page we were on in our council package. When you say page 4 of the report, is that the same as saying page 40 of 167 in our package? Okay. Yeah. No, just for me following, I would appreciate if you could use the council package numbers. It just makes sure we're talking about the same pages. So the other question that I did have while I've got you is the 3 exceedances that we had, is that how does that compare with other years?
We had 3 exceedances that year. That would be higher. We've had some years where we actually have not had any. 2 of them were on April 21st. That was kind of one exceedance, and there was 2 things required. At that time, November 5th, we had a turbidity analyzer froze up. That was the 3rd exceedance, but previous to that, we've had where we have not had any exceedances.
And
Or
when you
any,
say,
any call-in requirements.
when you say froze up as temperature froze or as a display froze on a monitor?
It was froze on the monitoring ability of it, not actually, it was because we get the results through the SCADA system, so I guess I would say it was a SCADA system freeze up as opposed to what we might think at this time of year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sackel.
Thank you, Your Worship. That was my question as well, is the November 5th episode of exceedances. When it froze the reading, is there an alarm that goes off that they're aware of, and how do they get it back on track, and how serious is it?
That would be alarming and call-in question, and I would have to refer to Ted to give the details regarding that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ted.
Okay, so it was the turbidity analyzer on filter number 3 that froze. So the actual analyzer itself. So the software froze, which does not alarm out. It just reads a flat number, so it just was reading 0.05. As for being an operational issue, it really isn't. Yeah, it's not reading the filter turbidity, but there's also other analyzers further downstream of that filter that would alarm out if their turbidity was high, like the UVT, the UVT analyzer, or even their discharge turbidity analyzer would alarm out if there's higher turbidity. It was an issue with new equipment. The program for it needed to be updated, and we did not know about that, and the company gave us the update the next day. So that's how we rectified the problem.
Thanks, Ted. Any other questions for Ron or Ted? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Ron, for that report. On page 38, I was just looking at hydro costs, water plant well 1, 210,600, Rural Lake 29,600. Well 2, 29,000. Is most of that hydro used at the plant with well 1, or is well 1 hooked into the plant?
That hydro cost there of the $210,604, that's actually a combination of the water treatment plant and well number. The running of that well is actually at the water treatment plant, so it includes both.
It's 1 meter then for both.
That is correct.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of PW 0124. That is carried. Item 9.2 is report PW 0224. The subject is the 2023 Drinking Water System Summary Report. Again, it's from Mr. Cooper, our Director of Public Works, and we still have Ted online here to assist. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Fleet and Councillor Sackel. Sorry, Councillor Hudson. I'm having trouble over there. Councillor Fleet and Councillor Hudson. Thank you. Ron.
Thank you, Worship. The requirements of this summary report is it's scheduled 22 of the Ontario Drinking Water Regulation. Ontario Reg 17003 requires that members of council be provided with a report indicating specific details related to the compliance and capacity of our system. This report is to be provided by March 31st of the following year. This report here, we're more getting into compliance capacity issues is what this report mainly drives on there. This report summarizes the chemicals utilized in the treatment processes. It also shows the amount of chemicals that we're using in the process. And it also further details about the hydrogen peroxide for taste and odor, which we put on for Rural Lake. June 1st is when we started, and we discontinued it when we had to freeze up a Rural Lake. It wasn't actually till January 15th of this year due to a very mild later on in the fall and into the winter season. The yearly average maximum daily demand entering the plant was 6,360 cubic meters. This represents 41.2% of our capacity. That actually occurred. Our maximum daily flow that we used at the plant was actually on April 1st, and we used 7,452 cubic meters that day. And that was actually due to the issue related to the low chlorine residual and high turbidity. I've indicated April 1st, but that actually should have been April 21st, corresponding with that previous adverse water quality incidents that we had to report. Unaccounted for water is another item which we look at in the report. This year, what we have come up with, the unaccounted for water is 8.3%. It's a decrease from in 2022 when we had 10.3% as our final number. What I can say this year, we were down in terms of the unaccounted for water number. And that's actually showing our calculations on page 55 of the council package. What I can say is we did leak detection was completed. And that was in midsummer. We identified 5 leaks in our distribution. We had 2 of them that were on hydrants. I think we had 2 water services, and we had a valve that was reported leaking. We have repaired all those leaks. I do know that some of them were significant in terms of leaks that were occurring, and they could be occurring, would have been occurring for a period of time. So we put an estimation on that of around 29 to 30,000 cubic meters. So that actually has helped our overall unaccounted for water, realizing that they got fixed throughout the year. You know, all things being equal, the numbers should be lower and closer matching up our metered flow coming out of the water treatment plant to all the metered flows that we get through when we do the meter readings at the various homes and businesses, plus taking into account some estimations of where we know that stuff is not being metered, but they're a smaller amount making up. So that's a good news that we're able to get that one down. That's on the water loss. Another one, starting on pages 56 and 57, we have an annual summary, and that's showing our pump run times, flows, and chemicals throughout the system. We show that on monthly, and we show that on a yearly one. I don't have any specific comments to indicate anything out of line compared to what it would have been previously. All things are in line on that part of it. Another item which we are reporting on is the microbiological test results. That runs from pages 59 to 67 of your council package. What we do show on there is it shows our yearly sampling sites, and those detail all the sites we would have used. We have a point of entry for the system that's taken out the water treatment plant on a weekly basis, where we do 4 distribution samples. We have 8 different sites throughout the town which we utilize, and we randomly kind of go through that list to make sure we're covering all 4 quadrants of town. But if we had two sites on there that, and they were both in one quadrant of town, one save us a water tower and one was an address close by, we would either do one of the addresses or the other. So as we look through those sites and even coming up into 2024, we're looking at maybe getting some different sites on the list so we can get catch all four corners of our town and catch a representative of what's happening when we're doing the weekly microbiological. Just realizing that we've got some subdivision that have opened up in the north and the east corner. We would like to get a good representative sample and be testing them a little more frequently, just to get the results of the microbiological tests on it. Basically, all the results have became back positive. We're checking the chlorine residuals in all areas, all four quadrants of our town. That has so there is no issues there. The next section, quarterly lab results, that's on page 68 and 69. That's in-house lab results. Everything is in line there, and I don't have any specific comments on that. The next is section 6. It actually says on top of the page is 70. It's noted as page 7, but it's where it discusses trihalmethanes and haloacetic acid running average for the year, and indicated the maximum concentration for the trihalmethanes is 80. We're well under that requirement of our running average for the year of the 4 samples. We were 45. The other thing reported on that is the haloacetic acids. Its requirement is actually 80 micrograms per liter, and our average throughout the year was 22. So well under the requirements for that. And the recommendation going forward on this one is to report PWO 224. The 2023 drinking water system summary report be received, and the council acknowledge receipt of the 2023 drinking water summary report as per section 22 of Ontario Regulation 17003, and that the report be made available at the municipal office. If council would have any questions, either myself or Ted would try to address them for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Are there any questions? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, it is very good news about being able to stop those leaks, but I'm not sure how we ever find them in the first place. That's a lot of lines to check. So that's one great thing. Now, you had mentioned, Ron, that the hydrogen peroxide shuts down for Rural Lake in, I think you said January of this past year because of the winter we've had. So do you anticipate, because we have warmer winters, that you're going to have to continue longer with a hydrogen peroxide treatment?
Actually, in case of 2023, we actually did continue longer. In previous years, we would have been able to shut that down in the fall. Like typically we do it once the ice and things are froze over, a condition at Rural Lake, but it stayed open till into January. So realizing there could be some taste and odor coming and still some lake turnover occurring out of Rural Lake, we continued on with that process until January 15th of this year.
So then you restart in June, starting June, July, August. So the levels of peroxide that you use are higher than, I'm assuming, to do a catch-up.
Yeah, as soon as when we put that on, when we notice a change in the water quality, what we call it is a lake turnover in the spring, we will introduce the taste and odor system. Then we're introducing hydrogen peroxide, and actually we're utilizing more UV requirements for that process to treat the water.
So there is a possibility that with warmer winters, we could have to be doing that all year long is it because of the lake freezing over? Is that how it works out?
Yeah, when the lake freezes over, there's gonna be no changes or very little changes in the water quality of Rural Lake. We're assured that there isn't gonna be, any algae growth out there, so we're able to, shut the odor system off, but, warmer weather maintains, we have to keep it going longer.
Other comments or questions? I have one, Ron, just of interest. I don't remember seeing horse track watering on the unaccounted water. Is that like a one-time event or only when there is no rain and there's a request to water down the track?
No, actually, at the raceway, they water throughout the spring, summer, and into the fall for the racetrack.
And that's a no charge.
Yeah, that's it. It's non-metered, and actually there is a hydrant there which is just off the racetrack, and that's the one that the raceway utilizes for their to water down the track. They provide us with a calculation of the number of loads that are done, and that's how we come up with the estimation of the water which is utilized for that purpose.
Thank you. All right, all in favor of PW 0224? That is carried. Thanks, Ron, and thanks, Ted. Item 9.3 is report CL 0124. The subject is council appointments to committees, and it is from our deputy clerk and administrative assistant, Tanya Patterson. Your first report this year, Tanya. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor, Councillor Sackle and Councillor Hudson. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Essentially, this report is brought forward to council as there are 2 vacancies within the Age Friendly Advisory Committee and 2 vacancies within the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee. Applications were brought forward from 3 individuals. Mayor Patterson reviewed the applications, and there's no financial implications associated with these appointments. The link to the strategic plan is goal number 4, balanced growth. And the recommendation. The recommendation is that report CL 0124, council appointments to Age Friendly Advisory Committee and Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee be received, and that council appoint Laura Lee Ryby Hicks and Kayla Sale to the Age Friendly Advisory Committee and Alina Redkoff to the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Hudson.
So were there only 3 applications just that came in for those? Wow.
Correct, they were unsolicited.
Okay, all in favor of report CL 0124? That is carried. And I am watching my screen to see if Councillor Cable is opposed to any or wishing to comment. Item 9.4 is report ED 0224. The subject is the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition Partnerships. It's from April Marshall, our Economic Development Manager. And I need a mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet. April?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is a follow-up to the delegation we received this evening. And the motion reflected in the Economic, Tourism, Cultural Development Advisory Committee minutes, supporting that a recommendation be made to the Town of Hanover Council to submit a request to join the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, or SOIC, partnership. So I know we had a great delegation and provided us a lot of information, so I won't reiterate that, but I'll just discuss what the partnership means, specifically for Hanover. So we wanted to join this regional collaboration partnership and show our support for growing this dynamic sector dedicated to promoting and supporting the research, investment, opportunities, development, and production of isotopes. So with the benefits for being a partner in this sector's ongoing development, I guess foremost include representing and helping to prepare our business and community assets to be participating partners in the supply chain inventory. As Councillor Sackle demonstrated at the delegation, we have a lot of assets in our own community that it would be good to have a voice at the table so that they are leveraged and included in the growth of this sector in our region so that we can have a voice at the table and play a part. It also helps us prepare as our region grows in the clean energy sector, whether it be the waste management through Bruce Power or the Clean Energy Summit's efforts. There's a lot of things happening in our region, and I think it's important for us to stay on top of it, be included, have a voice, and be able to be proactive in delivering that information in our community, not only in our community, but broadly as well. So by joining this collective voice for the sector, we'll raise awareness of the economic and environmental benefits of medical isotopes. Will help influence decision-making by joining advocacy activities and networking with industry and research leaders. We'll gain access to sector research data and other intelligence not available elsewhere. We'll increase international sales and partnership opportunities by participating in technology missions at conferences and exhibitions in key international markets, and have increased visibility within the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition website, newsletter, social media, presentations, and publications. So there are no financial implications associated with becoming an SOIC partner. It linked to our strategic plan is Goal 3, strong and vibrant economy. And the recommendation is that report ED 0224 Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition SOIC partnerships be received, and that council authorize the Economic Development Manager to submit a request to join the SOIC Regional Collaboration Partnership.
Thanks, April. Are there questions or comments? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So no financial support is needed. What about staff support? So this sort of falls into your lap. So are you going to have to put a lot of time into this for support on your behalf?
Through your worship, at this time it's anticipated it's the quarter, just being available for the quarterly meetings, which Hanover does have a seat at the Clean Energy Frontier table as it stands. So this would just expand on that, our investment into that. Apart from that, I don't have a base on the timing that would be spent on it, but as it stands right now, it seems this is a supportive advocacy position versus a working group as it stands right now. So I feel like the time would be limited. The only time that would be invested is really when we need to have boots on the ground locally to be able to speak to our businesses and community assets.
And that would be your department that would be doing that then?
That's correct.
Your department of one?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. We worked hard to get that seat on the Clean Energy Committee. So other comments or questions? I think this is a really good idea. So, all right, all in favor of ED 0224, that is carried. Okay, item 10 is committees of council minutes, and we have 6 sets of minutes along with the subcommittee minutes. 10.1, oh, sorry, I need a mover and seconder for those. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Cable, would you like to second that? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, that's okay, Your Worship.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, Councillor Sackle and Councillor Cable. So the first set of minutes is the Age Friendly Advisory Committee minutes. Counselor Fleet. This is 10.1 on page 75.
Your worship, I'll just go over some of the highlights. Age Friendly met on Monday, January 15th. Brandon Dobson shared with us a Gray County Age Friendly Resource Committee that he is representing Hanover on. Also, the Chamber Luncheon, which Brandon did a presentation this past week and did a great job. Norma Graham has resigned from the committee, and all the best to Norma, and thank you for all their time with Age Friendly, and happy retirement. We did an e-learning update, waiting for the final update to the e-learning video. It is completed. We discussed Expo ideas for Expo 2025. Committee members asked what programs are offered to seniors and older adults to enhance the length of their life. Brandon provided an overview of programs offered Parks and Recreation. And that's all I have to report on Age Friendly. And I take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Fleet. If there are any questions, just let me know. And we'll move on. 10.2 is the Economic, Tourism, Culture Development Advisory Committee minutes. Counselor Sackel.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met on Wednesday, January the 17th, and under business arising from minutes, Jason Ron presented a Heritage Committee update highlighting ongoing efforts to identify new properties deserving of heritage building recognition here in Hanover. The committee's organizing a heritage house tour, so that sounds like fun, and potentially scheduled for cultural days in 2024. And this event will also serve as a fundraising initiative. Under fourth quarter building permit stats, Andrew Wilkin delivered an update on the new building permits. He talked about the construction of the new apartments on 14th Street and 24th Avenue that will commence sometime this year. He talked about commercial projects experiencing a decline last year, but the industrial area witnessed significant development. And that would include, of course, our new fire hall and the contractor's shop and the Volkswagen, amongst others. April Marshall provided a 2023 year in review for Saugeen Connects and reminded us that that includes Brockton, Hanover, Minto, Wellington North, West Gray, Erin Eldersley, and South Bruce, and that the mission aims to foster collaboration, positively impacting regional economic growth, support youth retention and development, promote business growth and retention, and integrate efforts to attract immigrants to the area as residents, workers, entrepreneurs, business owners, operators, and investors. She also talked about the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. And in that meeting, she mentioned the opportunity to promote our own assets, including the Saugeen Municipal Airport, which hasn't been mentioned today. So I wanted to mention that. Launchpad emphasized the conclusion of the RED grant to support HIP Apprentice Initiative, and it will conclude after the implementation of the video series that we're still waiting for on how to promote Trades Are Cool with local employers and additional videos around what Launchpad offers. With the DIA, Jen Olivero shared that promotional activities are underway to encourage shopping in downtown businesses. And with Gray County, April talked about the return of the job fair at the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center on February 14th. Instead of having 13 job fairs, they had one big one. And I haven't heard how that went, so I hope it went well.
Thank you. Did you want to continue on with the next one?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Heritage Subcommittee met on December the 21st. There was some discussion about their fireproof storage that they're most concerned about to store their valuable media and artifacts. They discussed the building recognition signs. There is no installs and pending notifications for 4 different locations here in town. Under new business, the committee discussed the idea of hosting an open house for historical properties in Hanover and looking at suitable properties for 2024. The tour currently offered at the Neustadt Brewery was highly recommended for committee members as it provides historical stories from the area. And I've had the opportunity to do that. If anyone listening has not done that, you should really look into it. It's really fascinating to hear about the tunnels underneath the brewery in Neustadt. And that's it. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, Councillor Sackle, if you have any further information about fundraising initiatives for the Heritage Committee. Is this a one-off, this Heritage House Tour, or are there other things that the Heritage Committee does do for fundraising? I'm just not aware.
I can't answer that, really. I'm not on the Heritage Committee.
So typically from past experience, Councillor Hudson, no, they haven't done any fundraising. They've been more of an awareness type group to educate our community about our past. And they do that through their clock tower tours and participating in the pop-up museums that they've had during homecomings and on other special events. So they haven't had the need to fundraise. I'm not sure what their purposes are, and maybe that's going to come in time with the plans that they have for the house tour.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 10.3 is the Emergency Management Program Committee minutes. Chief.
Thank you, Your Worship. As indicated, we met on December 13th. All members were present except Laura Christian. Activities of the meeting included a review of the electrical contacts ammonia information pamphlet, and we provided feedback to electrical contacts after the meeting. Emergency documentation notebooks were discussed. We reviewed a mock-up with suggestions coming back at the next meeting. We reviewed the 2023 mock feedback forms and utilized that information to begin preliminary planning of 2024. We discussed 2024 public education strategies and also reviewed results of the 2023 public awareness and education strategy. We discussed what we applied for the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant, and we had preliminary discussions about the 2024 training and mock as well.
Thank you. Any questions for those minutes? I just want to say you should have received this in your mail. I think Electrical Contacts did an excellent job with this. It's clear, concise, it's easy to read, and it tells you what to do if you smell ammonia. So, and I just love these aerial photographs. It's very nice. Well done. So, all right. 10.4 is the Police Service Station Review Ad Hoc Committee minutes, and Sherry Walden, our CAO, is going to highlight those.
Thank you. So just a note that the start time for this meeting was at 9 a.m. and not 10 a.m. So when you use a prior minutes template, but you change the meeting time, you've got to remember to make those little changes. So we did meet at 9 a.m. And we had done a very thorough SWOT at the last meeting, but that was a brainstorm on flip chart. So the committee took the opportunity to see that information typed and was there any revisions necessary. So they reviewed that and made a couple revisions. And we also had created an assessment and ranking for the identified sites and went through that. We are now turning our attention to the final report and the draft table of contents. So that is moving forward and taking steps to finalize that report that will then come to council, expecting that to be sometime in early May. So it is a little bit later than, as we've mentioned before, but that's just the time and process. And we also want to have that opportunity for Hanover Police Service to present their business plan for 2024.
Thank you. And welcome Councillor Cable in person rather than electronically. Item 10.5 is the Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee minutes, and Councillor Hudson is going to highlight those.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Parks, Recreation and Culture met Wednesday, January 24th. I'll just highlight a few things here. So we were provided with an East End Trail update and continuing to work with Saugeen Valley to meet requirements. The splash pad project, the geotechnical soil analysis study has been completed, but we have not as yet heard results from that. The Bob Steers Park has communicated that the playground equipment will be scheduled as their first project in the spring, so that'll hopefully be finished. The outdoor rink has had its challenges, as you're aware, with the weather it was open for a day, and I think a lot of people did enjoy it for that day. I do believe, I've heard that there's maybe an issue with the liner again now. Postings went out for summer students and ice resurfacer. It says it's expected up until is it here? Okay, great. Didn't know that. Saugeen Valley Minor Hockey has a U7 tournament scheduled for February 24th, upcoming at P&H Center. And with some of the programs, the chair yoga has been very popular, so it now runs twice a week because they've had maximum enrollment numbers. There are 34 participants enrolled, so that's a good program that's working well. And also the new program, Gentle Fitness 55 Plus, is also at max enrollment of 15 participants and has been well received. So well done, Hanover residents. You're, getting in shape here. This is great. And also the Intro to Hockey new program has 14 participants as well. And they have received some great feedback from the parents and participants on that as well. Summer camp job postings have been out and they're being accepted. That deadline is over, February 9th. And then the staff also hosted a seniors fun day Christmas social December 19th, had 31 participants, registered another 11 attended the day of. So 42 people that enjoyed lunch prizes, carpet bowling. And it was funded by the Seniors Community Grant. So that was a well put together day. And the staff are also now working on planning the Hanover Local Seniors Games. The Age-Friendly Business Recognition Program is in the final review and approval stages. So that is upcoming very soon as well. And then Family Day, which was yesterday, was a very successful day, I believe. Both swims were maxed out at 230 people. The library did 100 crafts plus 30 craft bags handed out. And apparently bingo had over 100 people. I didn't count, but it was fun. So I think out of all of the towns around, we did a really good job, and it was a free event, and there were a lot of little people there and families, and it was very boisterous, and it was a good day had by all. I had a good time.
Thank you. So I do have a comment with regards to those minutes, the Robert Steers Park, the Legion Park. I have had residents inquire what's happening with it, when's the equipment coming in. So that's good to hear. It'll be first on the docket in the spring. And also with that last few snowfalls we had, I bet you there was 12 kids on that little hill going down all sides of it for the whole day, and the parents were there. So it was really good to see, being so well used. All right, the last set of minutes for this motion is 10.6. We're on page 99, and it's the Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Oh, no, it isn't. Sorry, I skipped. 10.5.1 is the Parks, Recreation and Culture Splash Pad Development Ad Hoc Committee minutes. Sherry.
Right, so I'll just briefly highlight them. The December, the 6 minutes. Again, this committee has really taken their time to get their campaign materials confirmed and their list of donors, and they've been out quietly asking for donations accordingly. And then the January 3rd, 2024 minutes reflect the same. Just what are some of their marketing materials that they're looking to confirm and move forward with. It looks like they're going to have a donation thermometer or banner to indicate their fundraising target and where they're at, as well as an update on where some of those quiet asks. So there's very much in that quiet phase of behind the scenes asking specific businesses, individuals, organizations, et cetera, for donations. And I understand they'll be working on that public promo launch in the near future.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go to 10.6 and the Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Plan Advisory Committee met on February the 13th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. Number 3, local plan. Number 4, LOPA. Number 4, the Secretary Treasurer provided an update to the committee indicating the town has enlisted Dina Kiefer from Cobite Engineer to update the town of Hanover's official plan. The process will entail a significant amount of time, including the necessity for public meetings and engagements, reviews by committees and feedback from Grey County. Number 4, this is a zoning bylaw amendment number Z124. This is Geo Focus Group. This is at 579 9th Avenue. The owner aims to rezone the property from residential type 2 to residential type 5 to accommodate 9 apartment units. Number 5, consent applications B124. This is Brad Davis at 620 24th Avenue. The Secretary Treasurer outlined consent applications where the owner plans to sever the existing lot to establish a new lot. The town of Hanover staff will provide comments and state the property is not serviced with easement or sanitary in favor of 584 24th Avenue. The development of the property would require the south of 14th Street to be urbanized with curb and gutter, with the owner participating cost sharing of the time of the development. Any requirement servicing would be at the cost of the proponent. Number 6 is minor variance A124. This is Mark Darling at 627 12th Avenue. The owner intends to build a detached garage at the rear of his property, 20 by 40. The applicant is seeking a minor variance. And number 8, new business. The Secretary Treasurer briefed the committee on the town's strategic plan initiative for background study, potential implementation of development charges for the town of Hanover. And I take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Fleet? Seeing none, that was the last set of minutes. So it was moved by Councillor Sackle, seconded by Councillor Cable. And this motion is to receive the information and approve the recommendations that are contained in the minutes that were just highlighted. All in favor? That is carried. Item 11 is bylaws. We have one bylaw and I need a mover and seconder before I ask the Deputy Clerk for the intent. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Cable. Tanya?
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Bylaw number 3294-24 is a bylaw of the Town of Hanover to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Hanover at its regular meeting held on January 15th, 2024, special meeting held January 29th, 2024, and special meeting held February 12th, 2024.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Dickert, seconded by Councillor Cable, that bylaw number 3294-24 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Item 12, we do not have any correspondence requiring action. Item 13 is reports and correspondence for information. The first one, 13.1, is report FI 0124. The subject is the fourth quarter activity report, and it's from our fire chief, Chief Deniger. Chief?
Thank you, Your Worship. As indicated, this is the fourth quarter activity report, October to December of 2023. As we'll see in the fourth quarter, we had 61 calls in total, 24 were medicals. Tied for second were rescues and other, and then third was false fire calls. When we look at the calls year to date, 214 total, with number 1 being medicals, number 2 being false fire calls, and number 3 being rescues. We can see that in the quarter, we had 29 total inspections, 32 reports issued, and 15 still in progress. At the end of the year, we had 124 completed, 112 reports, and 26 were still in progress. Alarm for Life inspections saw a pretty good result in compliance with 64% over 11 visits. Our year-to-date total was 42% based on 38 visits. Public education in the quarter, we had 5 total activities, 400 estimated participants in 7 hours, bringing our total year-to-date at 39 activities, approximately 1,650 participants and about 150 hours. There's no financial implications, and linked to the strategic plan is open and responsible government.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments? Councillor Hudson, then Councillor Sacco.
Just a comment, actually, that it's very refreshing to see that the medical calls have sort of stabilized over the height that they went last year. They've kind of gone back down too. So that is a good news thing.
Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your report, Jeff. I'm wondering about the Alarm for Life inspections. How do you decide whose home to go to and what happens? Do you just ring the doorbell and say, "Hi, I'm here to inspect your house," or how does that happen?
Through you, Your Worship, we actually call them visits because it's not an inspection per se. And so what we'll do is we'll look at data, and that data might be what homes were built approximately 10 years ago. If there's a subdivision, then we're going to make sure we hit that whole subdivision. It could be if we've had fire calls and noticed that there is a trend in a low compliance in that area. If they're older homes, it really varies. And really that's how we do it. Knock on the door. Hey, can we come in? This is what we're doing. It's voluntary.
Thank you. That's good to know.
And when you say 10 years, is that because smoke detectors only last 10 years? Councillor.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Jeff, for your report. We all received an email from our CEO last week. I had a citizen approach me, and I was actually out for a walk, and you could smell the smoke. This was regarding our agricultural burn within the town limits, which we don't see very often. They had permission to have this controlled agricultural burn. Apparently, the barn had been torn down, and they were burning whatever. There's no permit required. But as a resident, I have to have a permit to have an a backyard fire. I'm just wondering if this is something we should be looking at.
Through you, Your Worship, it's quite typical to allow agricultural burns of this kind of matter. In discussion with Ron Cooper, this is the kind of things we don't want to fill up the landfill with. So it's typical for an agricultural burn, but as you say, we don't see a lot within our municipality, and they do have certain parameters to meet to make sure that it's safe. That was a situation where the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, and so we put a stop to it until the wind condition changes. So not typical, but it does help us in ways to ensure that our landfill doesn't get filled up with these kinds of materials that can be burned.
What type of materials can they burn?
Combustible, wood, straw, that kind of thing.
No permit required.
Through Your Worship, they did get a burn permit. And there was a discussion about, okay, let's talk about the specifics of what you're burning, what safeties do you have in place. So there has to be a discussion to make sure it's a safe situation.
Okay, item 13.3 or page 105 is the 2023 annual report from our fire chief. Go ahead. I was.
Okay, thank you for your patience. So as mentioned, this is the 2023 Hanover Fire Department Annual Report. I did a PowerPoint presentation based on the report itself, just so that I didn't have to go through a PDF. It's basically a summary of the report that you see in your package. So the first slide, or the first page within our annual report, is typically our mission, vision, and value statements. This statement was created by firefighters. The mission focuses on the community and commitment. The vision focuses on being innovative and progressive, and the values include trust, loyalty, and respect. This helps us to make sure that whatever we're doing is focused and has a vision. When we look at emergency responses in 2023, they continue to be varied and complex. HFD firefighters again responded effectively and efficiently, providing the community with a professional and skilled service that protected both life and property. HFD achieved many accomplishments, a few of which are response to 214 emergency calls, a total of 15 more than 2022, and the highest in HFD history. HFD completed over 8,840 staff hours of training, response, and administrative duties. A total of over 2,300 on-scene personnel hours, an average response time of 6 minutes, 39 seconds within the town of Hanover from a 911 call. This is a reduction of 36 seconds from 2022 and 78 seconds from 2021. Donations and grants to HFD total over 20,000 from various businesses, government, and personal sources. A number of public education events were completed throughout the year. Presentations at the Saugeen Valley Safety Village allowed the department to meet many young children and introduce them to fire safety and the Hanover Fire Department as a community helper. Hanover Fire's Junior Firefighter Camp, led by Fire Prevention Officer Rob Hagan and firefighter Christina Schnell, operated in partnership with Hanover Parks and Recreation. This camp provided 13 youth with information and practical experience with a variety of firefighting skills for an entire week during the summer months. 39 fire prevention events totaling 95 hours were held, and estimated 1,650 individuals participated in these events. For fire safety standards and enforcement, HFD continued with its education program regarding the need for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms in the home. Proactive enforcement of the fire code was conducted on an ongoing basis. HFD continued with its policy to never leave a home without smoke or carbon monoxide alarms when responding to an alarm. This unfortunately happens a number of times per year. HFD will leave a loaner alarm in the residence to ensure they meet code and to give the resident time to purchase a new smoke alarm. Presently, HFD is a program in partnership with Enbridge that can provide free smoke alarms to residents at no cost to the municipality. As far as emergency response, we continue to support the Grey County Regional Training Center and the Grey County Chiefs Association. We implemented operational changes to improve efficiency and response protocols and updated our community risk profile, assisting with guiding HFD services. We also began testing for technical rescue certification as a result of being approved by the province to challenge tests. With regards to our Alarm for Life program, the results observed in 2023 indicate a 42% compliance rate of residents for working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Those not in compliance typically had smoke alarms that were over 10 years of age or without a power supply to the smoke or carbon monoxide alarm. This result was an increase from the compliance rate of 25% in 2021 and 37% in 2022. The trend of increasing compliance is positive, but there's still work to be done. Also this year, during October's Fire Prevention Week, staff spent time completing public education sessions. The focus was to increase knowledge and awareness regarding cooking. Safety starts with you, which was the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme. HFD also hosted their annual recruit information session for prospective applicants to learn about the role HFD plays in the community, the expectations of HFD firefighters, training requirements, response requirements, and much more.
In 2023, HFD received 12 complaints regarding potential code violations. All complaints were investigated and closed successfully. In total, 127 inspections were completed. This was a decrease from the 150 inspections completed in 2022. Complaints can be received from residents and non-residents and can be based on public concern. The Fire Protection and Prevention Act provides us with the power to enter any premise within our municipality to address any fire safety concerns. The department issued online fire permits again this year. This was a very successful activity for HFD with a total of 309 permits approved and paid. The total revenue received exceeded $12,000. In addition, to make it easier for residents to access and pay for the permits, the information obtained is loaded into a tablet application that firefighters can use to quickly view all issued burn permits while attending burn complaints. Our fire prevention officer will do spot checks on fire pits to ensure they meet the bylaw standards. At full complement, HFD has 35 members total. As a result of the length of recruit training program, the department only hires once a year. As members retire or resign throughout the year, they are not replaced until the following year. Presently, we are at full complement. In July, HFD said goodbye to retired Deputy Chief Joe Slotman. DC Slotman served HFD for over 35 years from 1967 to 2002. HFD had the privilege to provide DC Slotman an honor guard and a last ride to his final resting place. HFD members and retirees understand the sacrifices that DC Slotman made over his 35-year volunteer career. They came together with support of West Grey Fire to acknowledge DC Slotman's devotion to his community and HFD. When we have a look at apparatus use for emergency calls, we can see that Rescue 909 is the highest used apparatus for emergencies, with Squad 903 being a close second. This is due to the fact that at present time, 909 is a rescue pumper and as a result responds to medical calls on its own, as it has all of the rescue equipment and medical equipment on it. Throughout the year, each apparatus must be maintained at peak performance, both for safety of firefighters and effective operation at emergency scenes. While a percentage of repairs and inspections will ensure operation of the drive components, others are for the pump and suppression equipment. As indicated in the graph, Ladder 902 had the most significant cost for repairs and maintenance, while Rescue 909 was second. Hanover Fire responded to 214 total emergencies during 2023. This has included emergency responses within the municipalities of Brockton, West Grey, and other municipalities as per fire service agreements. The bulk of emergency calls and hours are initiated from the town of Hanover. As we can see, 70% of the firefighter hours were utilized responding to emergencies within Hanover. So if we look at responses in 2023, we responded to 168 emergency calls within the town of Hanover. This is an increase of 5 over last year. The highest percentage was for medical at 30. A medical assistance call is an emergency where the original need for 911 is medical distress. Specifically, these emergencies include vital signs absent, unconscious, choking, or significant delay in EMS response. It should be noted that at least on one occasion in 2023, HFD members responded to medical call with vital signs absent and provided life-saving CPR or AED actions that led to resuscitation of the patient. To clarify, a medical call where no action is required would typically be situations where the patient was obviously deceased and paramedics indicate no CPR required. The second highest number of incidents are generated by false fire alarms at 21%. Other calls were at 10%. This includes situations such as assisting other fire departments or canceled en route and other public service emergencies. Rescues, which includes motor vehicle accidents, technical rescue calls, and general rescues, were equated to 9%. Public hazard emergencies such as spills or gas leaks or power lines down totaled 8%. This group also includes carbon monoxide calls. In 2023, carbon monoxide emergencies where levels were present in the home or business totaled 3. HFD firefighters continue to investigate the issues within the home or the business that cause these alarms, and this follow-up ensures that homeowners or tenants are safe from the carbon monoxide issue if one exists. Carbon monoxide false calls totaled 6%, and pre-fire conditions such as pots on a stove or overheat conditions presented 8%, and the smallest was controlled burns at 1%. The type of occupancy associated with responses within Hanover are varied. The following graph illustrates the type of occupancy where the emergency originated. The highest percentage of calls are to residential locations, as this occupancy type makes up the majority of buildings within the town of Hanover. In 2023, saw a slight increase to the overall number of emergency incidents, as we discussed. The following graph illustrates the entire call volume for 2023 and 2022, along with the reason for the emergency call. And we already did discuss the fact that medicals are typically number one. And you can see there's slight variations, but it ebbs and flows. So next year is going to look totally different. HFD is compromised of paid on-call firefighters. As a result, firefighters are paged for emergencies and attend the station to obtain personal protective equipment, then respond to the scene and fire apparatus. Firefighters must leave work, home, and other locations to respond to calls at all hours of the day and night. The following graph outlines the times in which emergency calls originated with a comparison to 2022. The peaks for emergencies in 2023 are 1600 to 1700. And 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And as you can see, there is no time in there that doesn't have calls. So it's all hours, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 7 p.m. To compare HFD responses to other municipalities of similar size, this chart below indicates the number of emergency calls from 2022 data. 2023 data is not yet available from the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office. As a result, historical data must be utilized. As you can see from the graphical representation, Hanover's overall response numbers are the second highest. In addition, HFD has the second lowest fire and explosion totals. While medicals represent the highest type of call for HFD, the percentage of medical call responses is very similar when considering the ratio of this type of response to others. The average response rate of HFD to emergency scenes within the town of Hanover continues to be very low to all corners of the municipality. The response equates to just over 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 39 seconds from the 911 call. 2023 results indicate a reduction of 36 seconds from 2022. This result is a 3-year reduction in response times that equals 1.23 minutes. We can see that dispatch times seem to be increasing. A review of this situation is being conducted with Owen Sound Dispatch to understand the situation more clearly. In 2023, HFD operated NFPA 1001 firefighter level 1 and 2, as well as NFPA 1072 hazardous materials awareness and operations training internally. When training is completed, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office attends to complete the skill assessment and testing of firefighters. This provides our firefighters an opportunity to learn at home with HFD staff and equipment, exceed the provincial standard for information provided, ensure all information is specific to Hanover, and tests are completed here at home. This saves the department thousands of dollars in travel, lodging, and training costs, but also ensures that all staff are certified for the work they do at fire scenes. In total, over 8,840 hours of training, meeting, and administration time was logged in 2023, which involved 194 training or meeting sessions. This is a commendable level of commitment for HFD staff, as this was in addition to full-time jobs, family responsibilities, and other community commitments. Instead of training 1 night a week, firefighters spread their training nights over 3 to 4 nights a week, allowing for smaller groups. Specialization was achieved by establishing training for each of the positions: recruits, firefighters, and pump operators, as well as officers. In total, over 40 certifications ranging from firefighter level 1 to fire officer level 2 were awarded as a result of a combination of in-house testing and training, as well as training completed at the Regional Training Center. In addition to continuing its in-house training program, HFD began the certification process for technical rescue ahead of the 2028 deadline for all technical rescue responders to be certified. The following accomplishments occurred in 2023, so I've already talked about a few of them. We had some staff milestones. Firefighter Mitch Crispin had 5 years of service, Captain Don Crispin 20, and myself at 25. Completed the design of the new net zero fire station, and we know that constructions began. Completed our first annual awards and promotion event to recognize staff certification accomplishments and promotions. Funding of over $12,000 was received from the Farm Credit Corporation for the purchase of new auto extrication airbags. These updated airbags will ensure the safety of crews and patients when attempting to lift large loads at vehicle extrication activities. We shared the cost of upgrading the command trailer with police, fire, and emergency management. This upgrade ensures that Hanover has a mobile base of operations for any emergency to assist with timely mitigation and successful outcomes. We completed live fire training with 6 recruit fire suppression staff in partnership with Bruce Power, and additional live fire training for 6 recruit firefighters with the OFM's Mobile Live Fire Training Unit. We received approval from the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office to begin challenge testing of technical rescue. This was a result of an audit of our training program to ensure it met provincial standards. We completed annual training for all technical rescue specialties: swift water, static water, ice water, and high angle. We completed a 2022 recruitment drive, which resulted in the hiring of 6 new recruits, and we received over $20,000 in funding and donations. So if we look ahead, this 2023 annual report highlights HFD's commitment to fire prevention, emergency response efficiency, and community outreach. HFD achieved notable progress in training, equipment upgrades, and collaboration with other local agencies. Despite challenges, our dedicated team has ensured public safety and demonstrated resilience. HFD firefighters and officers continue to handle a variety of calls ranging in severity and duration. In 2024, HFD members will spend time continuing to train for ever-changing emergency response. We remain focused on continuous improvement and community engagement to further enhance our fire department's effectiveness. In addition, work will continue on building the 2 new apparatus required in the next 1 to 3 years. HFD will host its first Camp Molly Fire Services Camp, which is designed to show females 15 to 18 years of age that a career in the fire service is a viable and rewarding experience. Staff will also continue working on the transition and relocation to the new net zero fire station. The build is scheduled to be completed in the summer of 2024. Through innovative design and cutting-edge technology, we have created a fire hall that operates with minimal impact on the environment. From energy-efficient systems to renewable energy sources, every aspect of this facility has been carefully crafted to reduce our carbon footprint. This annual report underscores the remarkable commitment and selfless service exhibited by our firefighters. Firefighters respond to emergencies at any given time with no notice and no schedule. Firefighters respond without hesitation when pagers are activated. This group of dedicated individuals are intently focused on the needs of the community they serve. HFD acknowledges the ever-changing landscape of emergency response and are committed to continuous improvement. By embracing innovation, investing in training, and fostering community collaboration, we are poised to meet future challenges head-on. HFD's dedication to the safety and well-being of residents, visitors remains unwavering, and we are confident that HFD will continue to evolve as a beacon of resilience and service. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to say thank you to you and the department. There's not much else to say because we appreciate everything you do. So, comments, questions? Councillor Cable.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much, Chief, for the report. The dedication of the firefighters is always amazing, and certainly your report does a great job of highlighting that. The total number of certifications and training courses that were completed was really astounding to see that included. And it was also great to note that the trainings can be completed at home. I think that's a really great asset moving forward. I was wondering about the response time. So you've noted that you've been able to decrease that another 36 seconds for this year. Are there specific strategies that you're using to help work on reducing that response time? And what is your estimate as far as how the response time will change with the new fire hall location?
Through you, Your Worship, we're constantly looking at efficiencies. In the last couple of years, what we've done is had an officer get out in our command vehicle quickly and get to the scene and assess the situation, and then report to oncoming units what instructions he wants completed. So that's getting us out there much quicker and creating a plan. So that's really helped. As far as what'll happen with the news station, I'm hoping not a lot of change. But it might be kind of a wait and see, and then, okay, what other efficiencies do we need to address or come up with? We're constantly assessing how can we do things faster, better, and more efficient.
Excellent, thank you. If I can also ask one more question. You talk about the apparatus cost, and so we have the responses per apparatus and the total spend. And it looks like ladder 902 has consistently had some higher costs each year and is relatively, I guess, attends fewer calls in general. Is there specific items as far as that apparatus goes that needs like ongoing maintenance, or do we see like these ongoing need for repair?
Through you, Your Worship. An aerial is an expensive device to have. We need it. It is a 2011, so kind of at the point where stuff happens mechanically, pump wise, but an aerial device in general is an expensive unit to have. We do our best to do the annual maintenance to try and limit any kind of unforeseen situations. And it's been a really good unit for us, but it doesn't matter what department you're from, an aerial is going to be the most expensive truck you have in the fleet.
Excellent, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you. And let's take a 9-minute break. We'll be back at 6:30. Okay, we are now back from our recess and we'll start with item 13.3. This is on page 131. And the report is for information. It is report ED 0324. The subject is Saugeen Connects 2023 year in review. It's from April Marshall, our economic development manager. April?
Thank you, Your Worship. So back in March of 2017, the Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, or as we like to call them, SCDC, and 5 municipalities, Brockton, Hanover, Minto, Wellington North, and West Grey, banded together in a partnership to create a project called Saugeen Connects. So in 2021, we grew. Aaron Eldersley joined us, and in 2022, South Bruce. So this is quite an impact we have over 3 counties. And the various municipalities with our SCDC. So what we want to do is we want to share our resources and collaboratively work to make a positive impact for economic growth in our region. And we do that through 4 pillars: youth, women, workforce, and succession planning. So the included presentation is a review of Saugeen Connects 2023 successes and the implementation work that we've done around those 4 pillars. So I'm just like high level highlights or impacts include, I'll talk about our Student Startup Program, or SUP. That is certainly our most successful initiative. So in 2023, we supported 60 youth that were approved out of 75 received applications, and that supported 58 youth operated businesses in the Saugeen region over the summer months. That had a return of 11 businesses, and we're also very grateful for the support of our community sponsors because we're able to raise additional dollars so that we can provide funding to the youth for their startup costs, and then we give them bonus grants for the training that they receive and the final reports that they implement. So $13,550 was awarded to the youth through those grants. And then since 2019, when we started this program, we've assisted 208 youth participants or 182 businesses in our region. So that's really dynamic. And I just wanted to go back to Councillor Fleet's comment. I know when we were doing the budget process, you were asking about how many Hanover youth specifically were provided grants through this SUP program. And I thought about it after, and I wanted to note to you too, we do base them on home addresses to say what municipality they're coming from. But I think it's really important to recognize too, because this region, we are fluid, we're moving around. So like a youth could like reside in West Grey, but come to school in Hanover, or reside in Hanover and go to Walkerton to school. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to really summarize like how many youth from each municipality we are, supporting, but just know that the regional impact is significant and they could be our next business owners. So, and they could, even if they don't reside here, they could opt to start their business in Hanover. So I just wanted to point that out. Just moving on, WOWSA, our Women of Wellington Saugeen area, is now under the umbrellas of Saugeen Connects. So we see that as a really powerful network to support women entrepreneurship and women in business. So we're really pleased to bring this under this umbrella and continue to offer diverse events. And we've had notable attendance of over 200 attendees through the year. We also implement the Advancing Women Economically, or AWE as we call it. It's a webinar series that supports a cohort of women that apply to the program, and they go through the whole webinar series and are awarded some funds to help them with any barriers that they're facing to attending, such as transportation or childcare or things of that nature, or to invest back into their business. So we've been very powerful with that program as well. We also support local workforce attraction and support our businesses to promote what opportunities are available, and look at the immigration or new Canadians as a source of attraction, but also helping to develop our employers so that they are more responsive to the needs of today's workforce so that we can better retain people in these positions and continue to grow them. And then last but not least is succession matching and planning. So we know this is a sensitive subject for a lot of our business owners, and they might not think of it as a requirement, but it's really important to collaboratively work on this and keep it out there to our business community that they should be thinking of this, even if it's not in the direct future, that anything can happen to anyone, the next, so it's important to plan and to have succession planning as far as like your staff is concerned or family is really good to start to implement that even before you even think of retiring or selling, like years in advance. It's a long process. But through Saugeen Connects, we're happy to be able to provide free coupons for our business community to go through the process and start to put those plans in place. And if they're ready to be matched with buyers through the succession matching platform, it's kind of like a dating site, but for business. So you would like literally put your business for sale, and then it would match you to potential buyers. We're also offering webinars for education purposes as well around succession planning. So 2023 was a really notable year. 2024 continues on the trajectory, and we're excited to continue our efforts and champion for the development and retention of youth, growing our local businesses, and expanding and developing our workforce. So financial implications, the town of Hanover and all the municipal or Saugeen Connects municipal partners contribute $5,000 annually, and that's through the economic development budget, and that's to help initiate these programs in a collaborative approach. The link to strategic plan is economic development. And the recommendation is that report ED 0324 Saugeen Connects 2023 year in review be received for information. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, April. That's a lot of accomplishments for just $5,000, but it does show that if everyone works together, you can do it. So, comments? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a few questions here, but you did actually clarify the succession matching and planning. So back to workforce, I'm wondering if you can give some specific examples of the supporting local business growth. Like, can you give me something?
Absolutely. So it is reflected in this reports here about back in 2019 when we did invite the Peel Newcomer Center to do they essentially do a bus tour. So we brought newcomers from the Peel region to our area, and we went around and highlighted some of our employers that were hiring, as well as some of our businesses for sale. So that was that initiative. But then we started to take a look at what we could do on a more local level to support our employers. So we have found the most need in manufacturing and healthcare. Essentially, we've gone out to our leading employers in those sectors, and we created profiles with them that we highlight on the Saugeen Connects website so that it specifically talks about what kind of jobs are available and the skills needed, and try to match them directly with that. We're also working, and I apologize, all these acronyms and all this stuff, but I don't mean to confuse the issue, but, or not the issue, but confuse things, but through the Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, like Saugeen Connects is not all of the Saugeen Economic Development area. It's for the municipalities that want to participate. So also through the RAC or Regional Advisory Committee, that's all of the Saugeen Economic Development municipalities. So that initiative actually applied for a RED or Rural Economic Development Fund grant. So we were able to specifically work with pilot companies. So we picked one from each of our areas to work with them specifically on their HR and attraction needs. So we're in the middle of that program right now. So Saugeen Connects felt it no need to duplicate those efforts, right? So we're working within that whole regional advisory committee on this workforce attraction or workforce retention project. And what we're doing is we're delivering training to our employers around their needs. So an example is mental health first aid. We're about to deliver some Bridges Out of Poverty training so that employers are more educated in the needs of today's workforce. And so that I think what we found is it's very easy to attract, well, no, I shouldn't say it's very easy. We can attract people into these positions, but retaining them is a whole nother subject. So we've kind of shift focus and let's work with our employers, get them ready, assist them with their training needs. And then we can start to really market out and try to build those connections more so to attract new workforce.
Well, that's a huge amount of work. Good job.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
glad I asked the question, except for all the letters. It's-
Yeah, I know, right? I'll
Thank
give
you very
I'll give
much.
you the cheat sheet.
Other comments? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, April, for that report. Well done. I think it's really important that we do work together as a region. I think it's, to attract workers, if you've got to be employed in Durham or Walkerton or wherever, I think it's very important that we do work together. And I think it's very important for our youth. I know a couple summers ago, the youth had set up at Hanover Raceway, and it was quite a, busy little afternoon for them. It was nice to see those young business people out there, selling their merchandise or whatever. And is there any plans again to do something like that in Hanover, or do you go around to a different location every year?
Yeah, we do try to move things around so that all municipalities are essentially kind of taking their turn and doing different things. I will acknowledge that the Hanover Bentic Brant Agricultural Society and the Hanover Raceway are both 5-star sponsors of this program. They've significantly invested sponsorship dollars into this program for the past several years. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank them for that. They're not the only sponsors we have, but they are 5-star sponsors. So we were able to work with them, you're right, to set up those markets, to give the youth exposure, but then also be an attraction for that venue. So we have implemented also, we have seen a real benefit in supporting the youth through markets. So we're starting to implement through the SUP program, reimbursing youth to attend like local farmers markets or the larger fairs. And then yes, continuing to work with our partners to be able to set up on-site markets. And we always do a wrap-up barbecue and we invite the sponsors and we encourage the youth to set up displays there as well. So we've done that at Launchpad in the past, and this past year we were in Mildmay, but yeah, again, we try to move things around and each take turn as partner municipalities.
Okay, very good. Thanks, April. Item 13.4 is Launchpad regular board meeting minutes for information. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'd like to point out that these are actually draft minutes. The Board of Directors doesn't meet until the end of February, so we'll approve them at that time. Under the 2024 budget discussion, we talked about programming, and OYAP, which is Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program funding, has been used to offset student fees for field trips, which has been amazing. But when programs receive subsidies, then the public and the parents really need to be made aware that the programs have been discounted so that the true cost is not a surprise when subsidies are not received. So I think that's significant to note. Under financials, January 2024, the motion's incorrect. The motion should read that the financial statements were accepted. And of course, we'll get that corrected when we meet at the end of February. Under the operations report, culinary classes are running. They ran in January and they're continuing to run in February. The subsidized Insight for Life sessions in conjunction with the Hanover Family Health Team have been very successful, but additional funding is still needed to continue to offer this program. So if there's anybody listening that might want to help us, that would be wonderful. There is such a variety of programs that are in the works right now for Launchpad. Fly fishing is something very new. It sounds like fun. Muckluck making workshop. We're also having women in construction. Tools in the Trade Boot Camp is going to run again this year in May. Working at Heights is being filled right now. The Laborers International Union of North America field trip and a new financial literacy course is being planned. There is one notice for March break. I know there's going to be more programs, but at this time I can tell you that there's going to be a songwriting and producing workshop, which might be interesting to some students. Launchpad Board, under other business, is still looking for some new board members. So if there's anyone listening who might be interested in joining the board, the Governance Committee has just put together a new board member package that we will hopefully get approved later this month. And we'd love to have you consider joining us. So thank you. Are there any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. In looking at your Facebook page, I noticed there was a comment from an adult wondering about the making of decorations over the Christmas. They had some decorating ornament classes. And one of the comments was, oh, I would really like to have taken that. Is it just for kids? So are those some things that they might be, like, who sees the comments? How does that come up to you guys so that they know about new programs?
I would suggest that they look at the website, like there's an adult programming section. I know that there's culinary classes happening there on the weekends right now. Councillor Cable, do you have anything to add to that?
I think certainly staff do monitor the Facebook page, and so like any of the suggestions that come through are certainly appreciated. As far as that particular workshop, I'm not sure, April, if you know the specifics about that one, but I do know that we are trying to expand the programming to be a broader range. So really saying that our market is that 12 to 29, but also looking at servicing adult programs as well.
If I could just add something, it's working with the instructors as well to see where their comfort level is with who they wish to instruct to. So there's many variables that we consider, but we're just starting to roll out really effectively like the different ages. So I would say that we would take those comments back. And I know we're getting a lot of interest from adults, like the barn quilt course and things like that. So we're looking at different ways that we can deliver that and respond to the needs of all the different ages.
So is the only way for people to find out through Facebook and the website? That's pretty much it for how the word gets out?
And through the newsletter as well. Yes. And we're trying to implement other communication means like through print media and things like that. But the most current information is definitely available on the website, social media, and then through the newsletter.
Or you could call.
Yeah.
And how do people get the newsletter?
If you go to mylaunchpad.ca, you can sign up for the newsletter on the website.
It's interesting how people forget that they can just pick up the phone and call and somebody will answer. Like, I don't think you get many automated anymore unless you're calling big corporations. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's nice to see all this variety of offerings that are coming forward. Are they being offered on a cost recovery basis, or is each one of these adding cost to the operation, or how is that being done?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So certainly we are trying to look at what is the actual cost to operate each program, and then to make sure that we're bringing in an amount that would offset that. So even if we're looking at the field trips that are currently being offered, so I think the youth are paying $50 to attend, but we know that the cost is actually higher, and so it's being subsidized by sponsorships that we're receiving in order to make sure that the overall amount coming in for that program is having a net profit for Launchpad. So certainly we are looking at each of the programs that are being offered and really trying to look at what is the expenses for that program, what's the projected revenue, and then also taking into account things like rent, hydro, heat, the building that's sitting there, those types of things.
Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering, is there any way of seeing any numbers of participants? Like, I read all this, but I'd like to see numbers. Is there any way we'd see numbers going forward?
I certainly think that that's something that we can bring forward. We've also asked for like a participant feedback survey to be done at the end of each session, just so we can gather input on, what would be potential programs that youth might be interested in, what do they really enjoy, what would they like to see changed. And so hopefully we'll be able to gather that data as well to bring that back.
Okay, next on the agenda is 13.5. This is page 159. It is the Police Services Board meeting minutes from January 29th. During that meeting, we elected the chair and the vice chair. Selwyn Hicks is the chair and Peter McEwen is the vice chair. And the secretary was appointed, and that is Catherine McKay. No change from last year. The board is preparing for its 3-year business plan and looking for input and feedback from everyone, from residents, anyone who would like to take this, whether you're in school or a resident here or a resident outside of Hanover. And to do that, what it does is set priorities and the future direction of the service. So to do that, the information is obtained through a survey, and the responses have been low. So if you would pass the word or even complete a survey, that would be nice, because we all know how important surveys are because we refer back to them. And if you go to hanoverpolice.ca, you will see the link to the survey there. The board also discussed the implications of the new Community Safety and Policing Act that is coming into full force to replace the Police Services Act. We do not have a date yet, but the act expands the roles of special constables, allowing them to take on more duties, and requires all sexual assault investigations to be conducted by an officer who has sexual assault training. The Ministry of the Solicitor General will provide online training for board members for this, for their roles with this new police act, their roles and responsibilities, as well as additional training for the officers and those special constables and any oversight bodies. And let me continue on here. We did have Constable Garrett Potter was promoted to first-class constable, and the question was asked, how many first-class constables do we have? All but 3. And the chief noted that this in 2023, there were 5,563 calls for service, and that is the most in the history of the police service. And he also noted that Hanover is second only to Owen Sound in Grey Bruce in terms of the demand for police services. The number of followers on the chief's Twitter account, or X, continues to increase. It is useful to help provide updates and promote safety to residents and businesses, and it's also helpful in locating certain individuals. In December, the service partnered with Foodland for a Christmas food drive, and they received 850 pounds of food, which was given to the Salvation Army. So that was a good event. And open to any questions, if there are any. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering if you can just go back over the survey. That was one of my questions. What it's for and how does, other than, you said hanoverpolice.ca, is it advertised anywhere on our, like on our board out front or anything about this survey? And what is the survey for again?
So the board has to prepare a 3-year business plan, and it looks for input and feedback to prepare that plan. So that helps set direction for the future, what the service should focus on. And to receive that input, they have a survey.
Okay.
Is it on the board out here? It might have been, I'm not sure, because it was, Tanya says yes, because this was actually launched back in December.
Okay.
But the responses have been quite low, and you could take that people are they're accepting what the police service is doing now, but we would like information. We want the feedback. So,
Can we put it back on the board again it's still on
Oh,
there?
okay, it's
Oh,
still
guess
there.
That's not, guess it's not working so well then, is it? Okay, thank you.
yes.
Through you, your worship. It's also on the Hanover website, hanover.ca, under police services. There's an area that explains about their business plan survey and a link to the Hanover Police Services website.
So you actually have to go looking for the survey then. That's maybe why there's not as many responses as you want.
But if you go into hanoverpolice.ca, it's like, that's their website, right? So it's on there. Other than.
Because I'm in there all the time.
Well, a lot of people are, I should, people want to know what's going on, so they will take a look to see. Tanya?
I have heard it on the radio as well. It's been advertised. And on our board out here, there is a notice that they can, I believe the library has hard copies.
Yeah. It's another, you can do everything, right? You can go to.
No, I had no idea, and
So-
I should know this, like, if somebody asked me, I
It's been
did.
in almost every set of minutes since, well, not every, this is January, it's been in December. And it's something the police service, it's mandated in the Police Act that this has to be completed. So it's like anything, whether you pick up on it this time or next time, or something catches your eye, so. And it's gone out to the school boards, and there has been some response from the school boards, because that's important too. So if you just spread the word when you're talking to people. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Are the public realizing pick up a hard copy at the library? Has that been advertised out there? Because, there are a lot of seniors that don't go on their computer or whatever. I was just wondering if that people are aware.
Every time someone says it's either on our website or the police service website, it's always mentioned there's a hard copy available at the library. So. Councillor Cable?
Thank you, Worship. Just to clarify, is the business plan different than, does the police board also have a strategic plan? Or is this the kind of guiding document?
It's the guiding document. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. I don't know. I think it's tricky because I think people get surveyed out, right? And so we know that we've done the town strategic plan, library, now we're at police, we've done the splash pad, right? So.
And I agree, but when we look back and say we're making decisions on the survey we did for our strategic plan, that's how important it is. And we realize that. We just have to get that message out that, when people ask for those surveys, like, it's important. But I don't know how you do that other than keep saying it over and over again. So, but we'll keep pushing it. Like, we're not going to close it yet. It's going to. Like the previous one, I think we had 400 and some, I forget what was in here, but a lot of surveys returned, so. Yeah. All right, item 13.6 is a letter from Enbridge Gas sharing their disappointment with the Ontario Energy Board's decision on phase 1 of Enbridge's 2024 rebasing application. And a rebasing application is to change its natural gas distribution, transportation, and storage rates. And this is for information at this time. Deputy Mayor?
I was just going to say, if there is any further discussion, I would declare a conflict, as I do have some employment interests with Enbridge.
Right. Is there any action you want to take with this, or receive it for information? I'm hearing and seeing nodding heads on receive for information. Okay, 13.7 is the Grey County Council and Committee of the Whole highlights. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. During the February 8th meeting, we received a presentation regarding property tax overview and tax policy, and all of the good things that go along with that: understanding assessment and tax change, tax policy options, balance of taxation, tax ratios. And part of that looked at the growth rate statistics for the 9 member municipalities across Grey County. The highest was 4.6%. The lowest was 0.73. Hanover fell in about the middle of that at 1.93 is the percentage of growth that we showed for that time. County Council also approved several speed limit and parking zone changes on county roads, which one of those included a no parking except by disability parking permit in front of 443 10th Street here in Hanover. And County Council approved several changes to improve the county planning process. Due to changes in provincial legislation, county staff undertook consultation with municipalities on planning processes. The goal was to achieve a more efficient planning application process, remove duplication, save time and labor. These changes are not to dictate how lower tiers operate, but to just make an offer to help streamline that process. I did speak with our director, Andrew, prior to that meeting, and he expressed no concerns with what the county had brought together and proposed. So we were good with that, and that's my summary. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? And of course, if we can't answer any, we'll get back to you. Okay, item 14 is sort of good news and celebrations and anything you'd like to share. And I will start with Councillor Fleet because I like to start with a new councillor each meeting. So Councillor Fleet, all yours.
Thank you, Worship. I attended the Hanover Bennick Brandt Agricultural Society annual dinner along with Councillor Cable and Mayor Patterson. It's very important. The Ag Society and the Raceway are a big part of our community, and I think we need to give them our support. It's a big part of our community. And the only other one was Chamber Luncheon. I want to thank Brandon Dobson for his information, age-friendly business guide. He did a great job, and more information coming forward on our age-friendly business guide. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'd just like to highlight, I attended the physician recruitment event at the Oakwood Inn in Grand Bend on February 3rd with Mark Rogan. This event is for graduates of the University of Western Ontario in their first and second year of residency. Hanover has been quite successful with the residency program, and this event is important to tie into that group of doctors who are graduating and coming out into the workforce. As far as the candidates that were coming to our booth, you know, one of they like to know about the family practices that are in Hanover, what incentives might be available to help them locate in Hanover. Accommodations was asked about on several occasions. You know, what is the rental market like? What is the housing market like? Things of that nature. Many of them are looking for locum opportunities so that they can actually try different areas, see where they feel comfortable, where they may set up their future practice. And so, you know, it's not an event where people actually come up and say, yeah, I'm going to come to your town, but it's planting that seed. It's the opportunity to promote our community, kind of showcase what we have. The medical clinic is certainly a big draw for these new doctors that are looking for a place to set up their practice. Many times people or the candidates were coming up and they were saying, you know, well, I grew up in Owen Sound, or I grew up in Grey County or Bruce County or something, and I'd really like to get back to my home roots. And so it's good that we have these facilities. It's good that we go out to these events and present. The competition is pretty stiff because there is a lot of people there. A lot of communities are looking to attract doctors. So I think not being there is a real detriment to attracting new and young physicians. So it was a good experience for me. I actually got to see what, you know, some of these dollars that we're putting towards physician recruitment will do. And it was, like I said, it'd be nice if we could go there and say I brought, you know, 3 new doctors back with me, but it's a long process, and they're really testing the waters, and they have a lot of opportunities in front of them. So we certainly need to make sure we're loud and proud about the community that we have and the facilities that we have here. So thank you for the support this council has given to the Physician Recruitment Committee. And it was certainly a rewarding experience for me to go and go through that day with Mark there. So thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Sackel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I have to say something about Family Day. We really had a lot of fun with the bingo that we took part in. So I really want to thank Laura, Kristen, and Brandon Dobson for all their hard work. They did so much, and so many people were so grateful for all the activities that happened at the P&H Center yesterday. I recently volunteered at Light on Main at Grace United Church, and 100 meals are served weekly under the direction of Bill Smolinarth. And if Facebook can be quoted accurately, according to them, Bill turned 89 on Sunday. So that's an amazing feat for Bill. Barb Thackeray helps Bill with all of that. And I want to congratulate all the volunteers that work there. They have a schedule, they show up every week, and they do amazing work serving all these people in Hanover. I'm looking forward to 2 events coming up. Saturday, February 24th, the coldest night of the year, with Grey Bruce Mentorship doing a fundraising activity. And I also look forward to the February 27th Fire and Rescue Awards ceremony. Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to mention, to put it out there in the world, that the library has a new addition to its activity collection, and they now have snowshoes to lend out with their library card, various sizes. I believe there's 5, so adult, youth, and children. So if the snow stays, maybe that'll happen.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. I had the privilege of pulling the final name or card, whatever, for the Hanover Lions Winter Windfall Draw, and that was for $1,000. So I just wanted a shout out to the Lions Club for all the work they do in our community. They are appreciated, and they do lots of work. And I think that is one of their biggest events that involves almost every member, because I think they're drawing every day. So they draw one day for the whole month. So they do a lot of work arranging that. I also had I was pleased to be invited to the West Grey Mayor's Breakfast. CAO Sherry and myself attended, and it's always interesting to learn what's happening in other municipalities. And Counselor Hudson and I were present for Betty Duncan's 100th birthday at the Village Seniors. And that is the first time ever in 9 years that I have presented a certificate for someone turning 100 years old. So I'm sure people have turned 100, but maybe I'll get invited to more now that we're putting it out there. And for Family Day, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors. We had Edgewell, Match Eatery, H&R Block, Hanover Public Library, and of course, Hanover Council that allowed that day to be no charge for anyone who participated. And then a huge shout out to the staff who worked on Family Day so other people could enjoy it. It was well done. So. All right, item 15 is planning and, oh no, wait, I'm going too far. Staff. We have 2 staff here. Is anything you want to highlight?
Not from me, thank you.
Okay. One question, is the ice rink going to get up and running or not?
I know they were working hard on that late last week to try and even for Family Day weekend. I haven't had an update from staff at Parks and Recreation about that. Unfortunately, if you look at the extended weather forecast, it's not very promising.
Well, let us know if it's going to happen, please. All right, item 15, planning and other meetings. All of our meetings that are happening in the next month or so are listed on this agenda and on our website. Dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is March 4th at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting is March 18th at 4 p.m. And at this time, I'll ask if there's any notices of motion. Seeing none, we do not have a closed meeting. I need a mover and seconder to adjourn at 7:10. Councillor Sackel and Councillor Fleet, all in favor. We are adjourned. Thank you.